Eve.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, since you wrote your review, do you still really dig it? Are you still in love with it?
You know, gadget reviewers, we pride ourselves on how crusty and skeptical and jaded we can be when a new product rolls out, but it's really hard to maintain that with a product that is as graceful and well-designed as this one is. You know, it's hard to describe exactly what's so different about it. Maybe the best way to do that is just to show you. One of my favorite apps is the periodic table of elements. This is a lot more exciting than anything I remember on paper, right? Zoom in to an element, and then here we are.
Whoa. And
you can sort of move things around, right? These guys also sell 3D glasses, so you can look at these items in 3D. This makes information come alive in a new way. And one of the things that, you know, technology developers always say is when the operating system gets out of the way, when the experience of a computing device is so seamless that you're not aware of the operating system, all you're aware of is the information or the experience or the enrichment that you're after, that's when you know you have really sweet design. And that's what this is.
Well, looking at the online reaction today, there seems to sort of be two broad camps. And again, most of the people talking about this online haven't actually been able to handle one the way that you have. But it seems like there are people who are saying that this isn't enough computer to justify the hype. And there are people who are sort of more gadget people than they are computer people who are saying that this is actually sort of the ultimate gadget. Is there a meaningful distinction between gadget and computer anymore? Is that even an important way to think about it?
This is not a laptop. It's not a phone. This occupies a new niche, and anyone who tells you that they know exactly how this is going to change things or exactly how people are going to use that is lying, because we don't know. They're not out there yet. They're not out in the wild, and we don't know how people will adopt them. But I can tell you that having fooled around with this for a week and a half, this occupied a space for me that involved sort of consuming and experiencing media and sort of light sharing of media with friends, with family, looking at blogs, reading books on iBooks or the Marvel Comics app, which is really nice, and then chatting about that on Twitter or Facebook. This isn't a heavy-duty media production device. I don't know that I would write a newspaper column or bang out a whole bunch of Boing Boing posts in text on this. Maybe I would with the help of a keyboard that's available separately. But as something that you might lounge around on your couch with, and then watch a video and watch some television, play some games with friends or family, and kind of move around seamlessly between those experiences that used to reside on separate devices. That's what's amazing to me. This sort of blurs the division between games and books, between websites, between search applications. All of those things can merge in new and interesting ways that only the app developers know. And those apps are going to go live starting tomorrow. I think 1,000 or so are ready for iPad upon launch, but there's going to be a total gold rush of application development, and I'm really excited about what that's going to mean.
Can I ask you about the, I don't know if it's the astronomy app or the star app? This is one of these ones that you're very excited about.
Yeah, so just as we were waiting to go live here with you, apparently the new edition of Star Walk for iPad went live. And I'm still just getting used to it. But the idea here, this is sort of like a living telescope that is aware of where you are in space. So there's an accelerometer inside, and this is location aware. So here I am looking in the sky, and this isn't just, recorded information or like a film that's playing back. I'm looking in this direction, and there is Ursa Minor. There's Hercules. There's the Aurora Borealis, right? My grandfather was an astronomer. I wish that he were alive to see this kind of magic. Yes, this app is available on iPhone, and yes, applications like this will be on devices that follow. But this is what we have right now. This is the best hint at what the future holds in terms of computers, where you don't have to have an engineering degree to understand them. You don't have to drag things around with mouses and folders and learn shortcuts and think about the process of of computing. This will be something that opens up a whole new world for children, for older people, and for everybody in between, where you can just get at that experience and the computing kind of gets out of the way. And I'm also really interested in what will happen with all the competitors to Apple that will follow. There's a lot of buzz about some companies that are readying other devices that are similar to iPad. Competition is going to be good, and competition will open up new forms of magic. That's what technology is when it's at its best.
I am having the competition in my head right now with being like, I don't want to hype it, but I'm so hyped about it, I can barely control myself. That is so cool.
Get your hands on it, and maybe you'll discover something, I don't know.
I will. I'll mug somebody sometime soon and take theirs. I will. I know it'll happen. Xeni Jardin is the co-editor of one of the reasons the web exists, which is boingboing.net. Xeni, it is always such a pleasure to have you here.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Rachel. Thank you.
We've got a follow-up for you on the search for the man in charge of one of the largest pools of money in the entire world. As we reported earlier this week, the man in charge of the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, the younger brother of the president of the United Arab Emirates, had gone missing. He had been a passenger in a glider that crashed into a lake in Morocco last Friday, a week ago today. The pilot of the glider was found and is okay, but the sheikh himself was nowhere to be found after the crash. On Tuesday, after 5 days of extensive search and rescue operations involving teams from multiple countries, the sheikh was finally found dead. Now, as we mentioned in our earlier reporting, the fund that Sheikh Ahmed of Abu Dhabi controlled is thought to have been the largest investment fund in the entire world. And although sovereign wealth funds don't have to disclose anything about themselves, they're totally unregulated, this fund from Abu Dhabi was thought to be potentially as large as $800 billion. Well, since the glider crash and since the sheikh was killed, there has been no word at all, no statement from the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, from the fund, other than to say that there is a succession plan of some kind. To add to the spooky factor here, the other brother of the president of United Arab Emirates, not the one who controlled the largest investment fund in the world, who just died when his glider crashed into a lake, not him, but the president's other brother died under very similar circumstances 2 years ago. In the other brother's case, it wasn't a glider, it was a helicopter that crashed, and he didn't crash into a lake, he crashed into the Persian Gulf. I'm sure it is just a big coincidence. It's just a big, spooky coincidence. That's your follow-up. Did you hear that the community organizing group ACORN shut down all of its offices this week? ACORN shut down all of their offices this week, in the same week that the California Attorney General released his assessment of what really happened in the supposed ACORN pimp video scandal that ultimately brought the group down. Fox News, you'll recall, trumpeted this video from a conservative activist named James O'Keefe, in which Mr. O'Keefe supposedly dressed up like a flamboyant blaxploitation version of a pimp. He went into different ACORN offices and convinced ACORN workers to give him advice on handling the finances of his prostitution business. Mr. O'Keefe and his ACORN pimp video were promoted by an offshoot of the right-wing website The Drudge Report. Mr. O'Keefe personally and his supposed expose were promoted heavily on the conservative Fox News channel. And it might have been a tip-off early on when Mr. O'Keefe refused to release unedited versions of what he actually taped in those ACORN offices. What Fox and O'Keefe decided to show from his videos was damning. Him in the pimp costume, you know, how outrageous. How could these people not have known he was a bad guy? Those ACORN people must be used to seeing guys dressed up like this all the time. And then their answers to his questions. They actually offered to help him with this plainly illegal thing he was doing. How outrageous. It was very damning.